Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday service. Drew, are you all right down there?
It works.
It works. Yeah, you okay down there? You look like you're shrinking through the floor.
I just need to recover a bit, that's all.
Yeah, I know. Welcome to the Sunday service, everybody. There we go. That's better. Just a quick thing, actually, a little bit of housekeeping is that having not seen Drew for I've seen him come on and off, but having not had him visit me for 5 years, it was we met
now
up.
You can't get rid of me.
Can't get rid of you. So you were a delightful surprise yesterday. I will explain, everybody, that yesterday was the Jadlam Tamiya takeover in Glastonbury. I wasn't expecting to see Drew there, so to suddenly look up and there he is leering over me as I'm working away was a nice surprise. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
That's right.
I did say I'd probably pop out, and I just excuse me.
I just popped out there, I think.
Yeah, I did. So yeah, it was. That was a very, very successful day.
Very good.
Very. I was
impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected it to be sort of well attended, but I mean, I got there at what, 11:30, 11:45, and it was absolutely heaving.
Yep.
You know, just a stroke of, as you'd expect from Russ, a stroke of marketing genius to set that, get that all set up and with the hobby company and all the stands and stuff.
Yep.
And like I say, I mean, I didn't know Rory was going to be out there either. Rory and Kim were going to be out there, and there they were. So it was. It looked to have been fabulously successful and a great idea, and one that bears repeating.
Yes, I hope they do. That was me in action yesterday, working on the star of tonight's show, which is the new Tamiya 72nd scale F35B. And well, funny story. There were other things I was supposed to be working on. In fact, two of them you can see on that little glass shelf to my on screen right there. And then Pete Binger, who's the owner of the hobby company, came along and he said, "We'd love the one you're building. Is there any chance you can actually finish it off? Actually finish completing it so that we've got something for our display case in Milton Keynes?" And I thought, yeah, we can do that, absolutely. So for the rest of the day, I was head down getting this thing built. Anyway, there we go. At the end of the day, structurally complete. Every single piece is on there, and it's on the stand, and it's in its hover mode as well. We'll talk about this in a minute, Drew, but as a modeling experience, peerless.
As a modeling experience, Tamiya.
Yeah. Talking of which, we're just going to have a little bit of housekeeping before we get on to the main event, and then we'll talk about F35. I've got another thing that has turned up here is their recent reworking of their Grumman Wildcat kit. This time they have done it as an FM1 Wildcat or a Marklet Mark 5. Now, this is essentially the kit from, oh, goodness me, Drew, I'm going to make you feel old here. This is the kit from 30 years ago.
1994, wasn't it?
It was 1994, and I built the kit back in 1994, and it was the first ever aircraft article in a new magazine called Scale Aviation Modeler. So, and I converted it into a Royal Navy version. Anyway, here we go. So you will be familiar with this kit. Essentially, it's pretty much the same kit from from 30 years ago with a new decal sheet, with an awesome new decal sheet. What can we say about this? It is typically Tamiya. It is very economic, I think is a very good way of putting it. I was expecting there to be, my memory was playing tricks with me. I was expecting there to be more sprues in the kit.
Yeah,
Nope.
so we forget how simple they were, don't we?
Yeah.
Even, just 30 years ago.
Yep. So there we go. So that's obviously OBS, fuselage and tail planes and bits of the gear bay and some of the cockpit. One of the features of the Tamiya kit from 30 years ago, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, is it had engraved panel lines, but it had these fabulously tiny raised rivets. Yeah, you can just see the camera picking them up there. Like I say, I built this one 30 years ago. So I've got to build this one for Telford. So I am looking forward to cranking this one out straight from the box. As you can see, there's the wings with they come straight, they come unfolded. Little bit, I've just noticed, tiny amount of flash you can see on that screw there. Yeah, but nothing. Are we not modelers, Drew?
Well, it doesn't appear to be on the parts.
No. So yeah, we're not going to worry about that.
Bearing in mind, this kit has been in production for constantly. 30 years, pretty much all the time. That's the same as getting this kit in 1994 and saying it was issued in 1954.
Yeah, or indeed people buying the F-35 this year, and they'll still be making it in 2054.
Yeah,
which is a terrifying thought. And yeah, anyway, and then you get this absolutely fabulous decal sheet. Look at that. That is a work of art, and I like the idea that they've given you all the invasion stripes for the British one. So I'm going to be trying them out. I will brave that. But yes, absolutely fabulous decal sheet, beautifully printed. And of the schemes, you've got your primary one.
1943 one there, like that.
Yeah. So we've got Royal Navy Martlet, Normandy 1944 in the ID stripes, in extra dark sea grey, dark slate grey, and sky. Then we have this one from Guadalcanal, which is in the white and was it dark gold grey? It was a gold grey anyway.
Yeah, it was a dark gold greyish colour, wasn't it?
White and dark gold grey. Then we have this one. We have this one, which is in a 3-tone camouflage finish.
With the red outlines, so that's mid 1943, isn't it?
September 1943, Drew.
Yeah.
BC 33.
Yeah.
So
was it May to October 1943? Those markings were used. Something like that, and then they
possibly. Yeah, possibly.
I like that scheme. I do like that.
And that's the one you build, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I say those red-edged stars and bars are fabulous, aren't they? Anyway, so I've got that to make for Telford, which I am looking forward to doing. And what's the other thing I've got to do? I've also got a couple of little armor kits to do. Right, other housekeeping for tonight. And that is our adventures, or my adventures rather, with the AK reel markers. Now, I had a little test bed. This is where StreamYard stops working. I had a little test bed model that I bought at the Avon show the other week, which is the Hella 72nd scale Suma. Now, thing is, I've never built any of the Hella 72nd scale armor. In fact, up until probably the 1990s, I didn't even know Hella did 72nd scale armor. It wasn't one of those things that came into the UK much. So here's this little Suma. The tracks have also been painted with the real markers as well, as has the camouflage. The reason for doing the tracks in that color is that I'm going to kind of dry brush them with a gunmetal color. I'll probably dry brush them with the real markers anyway. So we are still working on that, but I've got to say, Drew, there are some things where these marker pens are incredibly useful, especially when it comes to picking out Pioneer tools on, molded on Pioneer tools, tanks and things.
Oh, so see 1,000,001 uses for them.
Yep. So that was that one. So we will be. I'll probably do a pop-up live just to do a quick update on that. But that's essentially the housekeeping for tonight. The other thing I'm working on at the moment is the Italeri Bedford QL, which is going to be for Scale Model World. So, Drew, shall we talk about our new toys then?
Well, switch views,
yeah.
So,
there we go. Yep.
Oh dear.
It's not bad, is it?
We're F-35 crew, aren't we?
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
It's your typical Tamiya kit, isn't it? It's just for, just as I showed John earlier, just for reference, in case some people remember, I did build the F-35A, the Tamiya F-35A, a while ago. Used aftermarket decals to do a Lake and Heath one, but yeah, it's just typically Tamiya that you expect in this day and age. It's just absolutely mind-bogglingly good, shall we say? You know, there's just no vices in these at all, is there? So that was the A that was released. What? Oh God, was it last year now? Yeah.
Yep.
Released sort of late last year. So that's the A that's been built, and so in the same way that they did the F-35A, then they released the F-35A in 72nd. They did it in 48th, then 72nd. Then they released the F-35B in 48th late last year, and now they've released the F-35B in 72nd as well. So they're hopefully there'll be a C to follow. But
I think we could pretty much put a good bet down on that, actually.
I don't like to take bets because the C seems to be largely quite unpopular because it's only got one user. So, well, two users, I suppose you could argue. The US Navy and the US Marines both use it, but yeah. But I would hope that the C is to follow. But anyway, we're talking about the B today. So this just got on sale yesterday.
Yep, it was, because there were buying them at Jadlam in Glastonbury yesterday, of whom, incidentally, big shout out to them because they gave us the kits for the show tonight. So big shout to Russ and crew in Glastonbury. Thank you very much for that.
Yes, Russ looked after us excellently yesterday.
Yep.
Gave me a few little bits and bobs that I need for the for him and the hobby company stuff. So so yes, I mean we've both been in and taken all the plastic away, haven't we?
Yep. First things first.
By the way, people, these are the same color plastic. It's just that we both got different lighting.
Yeah, you got different gammas tonight. So first things first. Upper fuselage is molded in just a single piece.
That's just beautiful, isn't it?
And yeah, I'm going to zoom in because of course the thing that tends to be the bane of F-35 kits are the RAM panels. Now Tamiya have molded these slightly proud of the surface, but we use the word slightly, don't we, Drew?
Yes, I mean it's one of those things where, I mean, technically it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's still exaggerated, but you can see on this look, this is a 72nd scale, the A model, and you can actually, you can see how subtle it looks when it's finished. It's not massively obtrusive at all. So I'm pretty happy with it overall. I looked at the kit when it was released, and I was like, oh my word, they've ruined it again. And then I kind of built it and went, yeah, you know what? It kind of it works well enough, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So there's your F-35A, and there's your F-35B. So you can see, I mean, they're quite clearly very different upper fuselages and canopy areas. So yeah, you've got the big lift fan here that you haven't got on there. So the F-35A is much sleeker around the backbone and stuff. Doesn't have an internal cannon like the F-35A does. Any of that. So that's the major differences there. But that's just to show you the kind of what the detail looks like when it's painted. It looks fine. It looks fine.
Yep. No, I've having built the Italeri kit. Goodness me, when was that? 4 years ago. I enjoyed that kit and I had great fun with it. But the RAM panels on that were certainly a little bit chunky, weren't they, Drew?
Yeah, they were quite overpronounced, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah. But like I say,
I'd be interested in seeing what the new F-35C is like.
Yep. But yeah, there we go. So that's the upper fuselage half, which is molded in a single piece. Then we get to the lower fuselage, which is split into two sections. So the nose section is separate. You've obviously got your holes here for your weapons bays, undercarriage. Yep, go on.
Interestingly, what they haven't done is provide you with an open weapons bay. I was looking at this just now, and whilst they've provided, let me look, they have provided a weapons bay part on there.
Yeah.
But what you can't do is do the weapons bays open, because the outer doors are molded closed on this. And this is because when the F-35 is in hover mode, the inner doors open. And the reason they open is because they act as lift improvement devices, like the strakes on a Harrier.
Yeah.
They perform that on the Harrier. So whereas with the F-35A, like so, they didn't provide any, it was all the doors were closed just from the box. There was no bay at all on that. In order to represent the aircraft in an accurate hover mode, they've given you the inner doors, and obviously giving the inner doors open means they have to provide some semblance of a weapons bay.
Yeah.
Which they've done.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, this is not an open weapons bay model in that sense, i.e. there's no stores in it. It won't show the all the stores and stuff. So interesting.
I'm just going to show the instruction sheet for that section, because there we go. There are your AMRAMs. Oops, there are your AMRAMs, which go on to a kind of a pylon there. But then you start assembling these doors around them, and then they kind of trap them in place. I've got to say, it's an ingenious method of doing things.
It's typically Tamiya, isn't it?
Yep.
It's typically Tamiya.
I'm going to say that a lot tonight. Yep.
They've just looked at the way to approach this. They still don't want to provide a complete weapons bay.
No,
I'm pretty happy with that. But they've also gone out of their way to provide enough that you can do a hover mode, do the aircraft in hover mode. Dave's asked if you can do the weapons, the bay doors closed. I can't see an option there, Dave. I haven't looked.
No, you can't. No,
right,
you can't.
okay.
No, they it's purely pure, as Drew says, purely open weapons bay, but in hover mode. And one of the reasons why there is that option in the kit, we'll come to this in a second, but you get two sets of undercarriage legs in the kit. I'm just going to take you to the image here, so you can do it hovering and weighted landed. So these are slightly extended, whereas these are weighted down. And yeah, what you also get, scrolls on, is a stand. And of course, being Tamiya, you don't just glue it in place, you actually screw it in place, which is, which is why you get a little screwdriver and a screw in the kit. But that works, surprise, surprise, Drew, that works surprisingly well.
No, really?
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? But yeah, so there's your inner fuselage. Then here we go.
Yeah, I've just noticed actually. I hadn't noticed, and I was just looking at this. There is no option for a normally oriented exhaust. The only option in the kit is to have it in hover mode.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I wonder if they've got a separate boxing plan, because that's the sort of thing they do, isn't it?
I think they could probably do a set of undercarriage and weapons bay doors that are closed, that you just plop into place. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if
that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be surprised if they got a separate boxing planned with a sprue which has got closed bay doors, closed fan doors and stuff on it. But this kit, as provided, is purely for an aircraft in vertical mode, shall we say?
Yep. So here is sprue J, and sprue J has the nose on it. And again, I'm just going to zoom in to the nose, and you can see. Oops, can't see it there, but you can see how delicate the molding of the ram panels is. It's very nicely done. And we've got the lift fans here. We've got some of the undercarriage, one of the undercarriage options. We've got the cockpit tub there, instrument panel, of which, being a modern day glass cockpit, all the instruments are provided purely as decals. And we also have the flaps here as well, which are for the flaps down mode. In fact, the leading edge slats and flaps are all in the deployed mode for this kit. So I can see you've got your sprue there as well, Drew.
Yeah, I'm just checking. I'm just checking, and what I'm doing, John, is I'm just checking all these doors and seeing that there's absolutely no reason, given the way this is tooled, that they cannot at some point do another sprue with
closed doors
and stuff. Well, what I'm saying is, quite often some companies would do that, but they mold this in such a way that you couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
They'd add bits for the open doors onto this piece, which aren't here. So there's absolutely no reason why they can't at some point do that with a closed door option. So
no, and in fact there are,
whether they will or not is another matter.
But there are also lips and things around here that would facilitate a piece to drop in there for a closed door as well.
Very interestingly done.
Then we have sprue H, which has the weapons bay. Yes, so they have included the weapons bay, and also the stand there as well, and your AMRAM and your God, what's that? What's the other? Yeah, is it Sidewinder? Yes, it is.
Name 9X. It's name 9X.
That's the one. having a senior moment here tonight. And you've also got here the lift nozzles as well, and they've broken the lift nozzles down into separate pieces to facilitate painting as well, because I noticed on I think it's on this particular part, which I think is H33, the inner edges of these nozzles, I'm sure, are painted in a white ceramic, white ceramic material, but everything else is going to be metal. But the beauty of that is you can just blast the insides of that with white, and then when you drop it on top of this part, it self-masks. So absolutely brilliant. What else have we got here? This is what I always refer to as it's the Death Star, isn't it? It's the Death Star trench. It's very industrial light and magic, this, isn't it? But and there's your stand, so you can it's two halves, and you can trap things in there. Having built the Italeri F-35 4 years ago, I can remember the experience of trying to get all the doors in place. This yesterday was just effortless. It was absolutely no.
Yeah. I mean, their F-35B was a little bit of a challenge to get everything in place, because I built that as the Italian one, didn't I, for the hobby company?
Mm-hmm.
So I built the Italeri F-35 48 scale F-35B, which is a lovely model, but was almost immediately
superseded,
almost immediately eclipsed by a model that was about the same price as well. That was the thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, talking of price, recommended retail price for this kit is going to be around $39.99, although cheaper online. So there will be people doing offers on this.
I know Jadlam was selling it yesterday for $35.99. So
and I'm just we're going to use that horrible phrase again, bear with, but I'm just going to the Bank of England's inflation calculator here, because I want to find out what. You remember when the Tamiya, when the Fujimi Phantoms came out in 1987? Yeah, and they were just a penny
before 1987, John.
No, but the British
ones.
Yeah, so they were just
$7.99.
I was just going to say they were a penny short of £8, weren't they? So I'm just on the Bank of England's inflation calculator here. So what would that be the equivalent of these days? Would be the equivalent of about £22. So okay. Yeah, so the like I say, retail on these is going to be round about the $39.99 mark, but shop around, you'll find them cheaper. So so what have we got on these sprues then, Drew?
Well, you got the horizontal stabilizers with insets, but as usual, I would normally not like this kind of assembly, but it's Tamiya, it's going to fit perfectly.
Yep.
There's this inner piece of the lower nose, which has all the sort of lift fan parts, the nose bay, the EOTS, which is the electro-optical targeting system. This bit in front of the nose here with the glass prism-like window basically is the equivalent of a sniper pod actually mounted into the aircraft. So that's why you never see the aircraft with an external targeting pod. So to be stealthy, they Lockheed Martin incorporated basically everything from a sniper into the aircraft under the nose. So that's those lenses and things there. And then obviously bits where the cockpit tub and stuff will locate. You've got the main undercarriage bays here. Seats, interior parts, all the undercarriage legs. Pay attention to the undercarriage legs and look at your references, because on the F-35B, they're largely not white. The F-35A is basically white, but on the F-35B, it seems to be a lot more metallics and stuff on the main undercarriage legs. So check your references before you start painting, I would say. But yeah, these are effectively ancillary sprues, all the little parts, all the little extras on them. Got the leading edge flaps there, the wingtip missile pylons.
Interesting you mentioned that, Drew, because I'm just going to go to the instruction sheets here, and here we are. So yeah, it's the same for both versions here, but here is the landed version, and yep.
Yeah.
So essentially, the obviously the oleo section is silver. The section that locks into the wheel is white, and you've got some other white bits. But then you've got this color mix for everything else.
6 and XF56. XF56 is iron, isn't it? Is some kind
of
color. XF6.
Just going to look that up actually. Bear with. That's orange, so it's a coppery color.
Yeah. That would figure. Yeah. Well, like I say, that's pretty much unique to the F-35B. It appears. Mm-hmm. Other variants are pretty much your standard white. So yeah, lovely little pilot on that sprue as well. So
I wonder who'll be the first to actually bring out F-35 undercarriage color.
Well, now you've said it, somebody will be working on it, won't they?
Somebody will be working on it, yeah.
So that's that sprue. Then you got this little sprue here, which has got the vertical tails on it. Again, 2 parts, because these tails get very thick at the bottom on the real aircraft. So obviously, if they tried to do that in one part, you run the risk of big sinkage and stuff like that. So they've obviously taken that into account. But again, it's Tamiya. It's going to fit. It's going to be,
I was demonstrating this.
They basically, those ones are the same assembly.
Yeah.
They've been dropped into place and glued, and that's basically it. So you can see that it's all along lines and stuff. So
I was explaining to somebody yesterday. They were asking about why there were 3 different glues on the stand, and this actually gave me a very good opportunity to demonstrate the white cap stuff, which was to go into this area here with the white cap and literally just kind of rough everything up so that so that it's a little bit kind of molten and whatever. Then just take the external panel and just drop it into place without you doing it in such a way that you're not going to then get molten plastic oozing up through the through the joins either side. So so that was a good way of demonstrating the use of the white cap. Then on the other one, I just demonstrated the use of the thin and the extra thin on capillary action. So, but they fit absolutely perfectly, Drew.
Yeah.
Why did we sound?
It would be more worthy of comment if they didn't, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're right. You mentioned that sensor on the nose, and there it is. There is the fairing for it. Now, one thing we are going to, couple of things to mention is there is a you can see it in the camera there, very faint mold part line on the canopy. So if
that's not a mold part line, John,
isn't it?
No,
it's not.
What that is, if you go to my screen, John.
Yeah, goodness me, that shows how much I know about the F-35.
There you go.
Yeah, you're right. It's not running through the windscreen.
I'm not sure if it's MDC or not, but it's there are decals in the kit for it. Yeah, I think I used just some vinyl tape to do this because the decals were a nightmare to get into place. But yeah, that's actually internal detail on the canopy, on the real thing.
I stand corrected. I thank goodness for that. I was sitting here thinking, I'm going to polish that out. Right, fine, that's good. It's a learning curve, isn't it?
Peculiarities these days that now we're moving more and more to kind of stealth aircraft. You're starting to lose that 210-degree canopy arc, because obviously that provides that's a really sharp radar reflection in that crease where it joins the fuselage. So they've kind of done away with that. If you look at the Raptor, it's that there's no crease or anything. The canopy just blends very smoothly into the fuselage, and it's the same with the F-35. So what that means is you don't need a three-part tool to do the canopy anymore, which means you don't end up with seams to remove.
Yeah. Also, as you can see here, there is a part J10 for the internal canopy frame. And if you want to do it in hovering kind of flight mode, you've got to cut off the the hinge for the open section. But as you correctly say, Drew, there are the markings for the internal framing of the canopy as well.
Yeah. All I'll say is have fun putting them in. That's why I went to. That's why I used vinyl tape for mine. But yeah, that location, that canopy location part, which you can see here on the A, basically the same on the C, and it just drops into there like so.
Yeah,
and takes on the right. You got a couple of little actuating pistons there for the canopy, but that just means you can, and then it just drops in like that. It's one of the best canopy locators I've ever seen, effectively, because like I say, it puts it just at the right angle.
Got a comment here from viewer Dave. He says, don't let the white cap glue ooze into crevices like, say, the channel in the trailing edge of the kinetic Harrier for the aileron as it sets rock hard. Guess how I know? Yeah, I think we've all done that. We've all done that, Dave. Jeff Baker says, nice photo of the first Japanese F-35B.
Yes, I just had a look at that. Yeah, it is shows the main undercarriage legs very nicely.
And Simon Lewis says, could be wrong, but if you build it in the landed mode, wouldn't you want Bombays shut?
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. It's only in the hovering mode, but the aircraft can sit on the ground with all that stuff deployed, no problem. So it's in what you'd call the vertical mode. So
I think Rob's being slightly mischievous here. He says AK will be releasing an F-35 landing gear felt tip any day soon. Yeah,
possibly. Nice, but one thing worth mentioning is that Tamiya have released a lacquer now for the overall colour of the F-35.
They have
in their LP range.
They have. In fact, we're going to come to that in a second, Drew, because we haven't got to colours and markings. But let me just. Sorry, I'm just bringing up the colours and markings page here.
There's the last sprue anyway. That's for the jet novel.
Yep. So, colour schemes. Any colour scheme, as long as it's grey, essentially. But having said that, sorry, my camera's playing up a second here. Having said that, they are some quite nice schemes.
So you've got a sheet of masks there that need cutting out, but
yeah. What I'm going to do with mine is I'm going to scan them, and I'm going to draw them and put them through the silhouette plotter, so that I get ready cut ones. But here we go. The decal sheet. The decal sheet is an absolute masterpiece. It really is. That's pretty nice, isn't it, Drew?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yep.
It's beautiful. It's done in such a way that pretty much you can just give it an overall coat of grey, and you're good to go. If you want to use all of these ram panels and all the rest of it, it's all provided as decal here. So
I'm sorry, I'm just kind of like slightly speechless at just how utterly gorgeous this sheet is. And like I say, I'm going to be building the Italian one, which has got a nice tricolor for the inside of the lift fan. Oh my goodness me, there are a lot of decals for this, aren't there? It's beautiful. It really is, and I say that from a professional point of view. Whoever's designed this has done an absolutely
knows what they're doing, don't they?
Yeah, top class job. Yeah, I know. It's just absolutely top class. So what? Yeah, you've got to do the Royal Navy one.
I have been in. I actually wanted to do the Green Knights, but I have been instructed that you will do the Royal Air Force. So I'm doing the Royal Air Force one. Basically ZM151, which is the same as included in the 48 scale kit. So that's the one I'll be doing. So you've got all of this half of the sheet basically, minus the some bits and bobs, and then that tiny little corner of the sheet there for the Royal Air Force.
Dave,
617 Squadron.
Yeah, Dave. Mike Williams asks, "Are there any decals included for the instrument panel?" Yes, there are. Mike, they are. There they are. You can see them.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about colours. Mr. Farmer is at the Hobby Company tomorrow, and he's going to grab me some of the new, some of the LP colours for this. So we have LP 84, which I do believe is the new grey for the new grey colour, isn't it, Drew?
I believe so. Yes, I haven't looked.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I can get some of those paints as well, John.
I'm sure. I'll see what we can do. And then we've got LP 85 for some of the RAM paneling at the back here and on the leading edge and on the intakes, and then we've got LP12 on the inside of the tailerons there, and also I'm just having a look. Yeah, part of the canopy is also LP85 as well, but it's quite interesting how on some of these aircraft that the on the underside of the port is this panel is slightly different color.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember when you used to get a model and the painting instructions were like the corner of the back
of
the instructions, and here we are with this, and it's like A1, is that?
Yeah, it is. It's not A3, it's A1. It's enormous. Because I've done A3 layouts, and they're still quite sizable.
And that's on both sides as well, completely. Yeah, that's a level of detail that Dick Ward would approve of.
Yeah, absolutely. Man never far from my thoughts, quite honestly, as well. So, but Dave actually does. Dave Fleming asks a very important question, which is the canopy tinted? Does the canopy need to be tinted?
No, it's not tinted. Yes, it does need tinting.
Right. So what would be your preferred method of doing that, Drew?
Well, as I remember, let's have a look at the. That was a mixture of. That's the F-35A canopy, and that's just a mixture of clear yellow and smoke. very lightly sprayed over the inside, allowed to dry and then polished with some fine plastic polish, and it just gives that very slight browny yellow tint to the canopy, that kind of gold stealth coating sort of thing. So it's difficult to see because it's really very subtle, but I don't know how well it's showing up on the.
Yeah, you can just see a little bit of
next to the.
Yeah.
Then it becomes quite obvious that it's quite tinted. So yeah, that was just a light airbrushed coat of smoke and yellow mixed together.
Interesting that Tamiya haven't tried tinting the clear parts.
Well, the thing is, they'd have to provide 2 sprues there because all the other clear parts shouldn't be tinted. So
okay.
I kind of, all the stuff like the EOTs and the navigation lights and that should not be tinted, should they? So, I mean, companies have got around that in the past by including two clear sprues, one tinted and one not. And you just take the parts you need from whichever. But as a very, very complete package already, perhaps that was an expense too far.
Yeah, I'm certainly. It's certainly interesting looking at this and seeing how much of the painting, how much of the ram painting can actually be done with the decals in the kit. So I'm
a huge majority of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd be quite tempted for the first time to actually give that a go.
Well, I'm just having a look at the yes. I think it's all going to fit perfectly. I'm just having a look. I can't see anything on this sheet that frankly gives me pause for, kind of like nervousness or anything. There's nothing. It all looks like it's Tamiya. It all looks like it's just going to drop into place and fit.
Any errors with this will be user induced.
Yes, I think that's fair to say. I'm also slightly. I'm rather intrigued by Decal's 111 and 112 because they're like a pale kind of lilac green color.
Yeah, that's basically the primer color of the F-35.
Yeah,
and sometimes you do see F-35s with that color ram panel when it's obviously been replaced. And
having a look at the schemes here to see which one is likely to be carrying that. It doesn't. I can't see anything at the moment, but hey ho. So long story short, folks, that's your look at the new Tamiya 72nd scale F-35B. And like I say, Drew is going to be, Jeff's got it there, peppermint primer. Drew is going to be building the British version. I shall be building the Italian one. Probably not the last F-35s will probably build, Drew, as well. So
it's a really strange phenomenon I'm finding that I'm not terribly interested in the aircraft as a model, and yet I keep building models of it. It's people have said, oh, you can have any color you want as long as it's grey, but it just keeps. It's an endlessly interesting aeroplane.
Yep.
In terms of its capabilities and its use and all the rest of it, it is, and the amount of these flying in the UK now. It is just, there's a lot of these in the UK, because we've got 2 squadrons at Lakenheath of US Air Force flying them.
Yep.
The 493rd, the Grim Reapers, and the 495th Valkyries at Lakenheath are both flying the F-35. So we've got those, and we've got the RAFBs at Marham. So and also, with the Dutch, the Norwegians have replaced their F-16s completely with F-35s now. Their F-16s are out of service. The Dutch are going that way, and we're getting quite a lot of visitors these days as well. I think especially the Dutch aircraft seem to visit Lakenheath almost weekly. I think they use it as a kind of, because I guess it's probably less than 30 minutes flying time from their base in the Netherlands. So
right, we're going to actually, to finish off the show tonight, we're actually going to do some live modeling, and I'm just going to I'm going to get one bit out, one piece done, which is part J6 down there. So it's that.
Mike Williams, once all the European users have transferred for F-35s, a static line at RIAT might look a bit samey. Well, welcome to RIAT, or the International Air Tattoo, in 1984, Mike, when it was basically Tornadoes and F-16s, and that was it. And I can remember we were all moaning about the fact that the only thing we saw on the static displays was lines and lines of Tornadoes and F-16s. How we wish we had those days back now, eh?
I was going to say. Now suddenly we're all being faux nostalgic for that era of boring grey aeroplanes. So right,
I can remember when the Tornado was a new thing, and everybody was spent all their time knocking it, and then in 2019, suddenly it was all nostalgia and the old classic. So yeah, it's that's progress, isn't it? I'm sure John will remember, as I will remember, the late 70s and early 80s with all the Danish Super Sabres and Drakens and all those aircraft visiting air shows all the time.
Yep, absolutely.
And it was just, time just moves on at such a huge clip these days.
Tell me about it. As Dylan Thomas says in Undermilk Wood, time passes. Listen, time passes. Right, there is our little panel there. So I haven't glued it in place, but I have just cleaned it up and I've dropped it into position. Now, actually, I've just noticed, being a bit finicky, I've just noticed that it's still not as clean as I would like it. There's a tiny little bit of sprue on there. I know it's a Tamiya kit, so you're being extra paranoid. Right, that's that done.
Happy birthday, Jim, by the way.
Happy birthday, Jim. Yeah.
He says, I miss the Draken, great aeroplane. Well, and they're actually all over the place in the States these days, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're being flown in the States quite a lot. We've got some Swedish historic flying. I think they got 2 now. But the one thing I always talk about with the Draken, with the Danish Drakens, was they always leant to one side. At air shows, if you looked at them from the front or the back, they were always leaning by about a foot one side or the other. And I think it was probably because they had those big ventral drop tanks. The Danish ones had big ventral drop tanks, and I think probably one of those was full and the other not. But they always leaned significantly to one side. And I've always wanted to build a Danish Draken and replicate that, and then stick it on a competition table.
Yep. Right, there we go, folks. I've commenced my second F-35B there by dropping that little panel in there. J6, you sank my battleship. So there we go.
Broken ground.
I've broken ground, but as you can see, where's the join? It's just perfect. It really is.
Dave Fleming just said yes with a big exclamation point. What
I don't know. He's obviously Dave is obviously quite excited about something. Probably talking about Drakens and things. So right. Oops, Daisy. Let's get me back on. So there you go, folks. That is the Tamiya F-35B in 72nd scale.
Oh, quite an in-depth, wasn't it? On one subject. Dave said, "Yeah." Oh, Dave was agreeing with me on leaning Drakens.
Yeah, leaning Drakens. So our dance card from this point on, Drew, starts to get quite full, doesn't it? Because
yeah, I mean, I've obviously got the I'm building the Leopard 2A7, the 2A7B, the the new Tamiya kit at the moment for the hobby company, and then obviously I've got the F-35. Like I was saying to our Mr. Farmer yesterday, I said I've become a great procrastinator with modelling, and I'm not getting as much done as I used to, and I think I need a little bit of pressure. And I said, that doesn't mean, Mr. Farmer, you can phone me up on the Wednesday before the show, ask me to complete a model for Friday.
Mm.
And he kind of winked at me.
That's, to explain to everybody, one of the pre-COVID years was we congratulated ourselves on completing all our projects for Telford, and then the phone went, didn't it, Drew? And it was it the Spitfire Mark 1?
It was the Tamiya Spitfire Mark 1, and Mr. Farmer said it was literally a week before the show, wasn't it? It was the Wednesday of the week before the show, so there was 9 days till the show kicked off. And Mr. Farmer said, "Can you complete this before then?" And I was like, and if you get it in the post to me tonight, Andrew, and get it to me by tomorrow, I'll give it, I'll give it my best shot. And actually, it turned out really nicely.
It was, and in fact, I do declare, I think that model was on display at Jadlam yesterday.
Ah, right. I didn't
paint all the markings on it.
No,
right.
Some of them, yeah. I think some of them possibly. Because the funny thing was, I was sort of I worked like a fury to build that model in sort of 7 days flat for the show, and then a couple of years later, I thought, "Oh, right, now I'll sit down and I'll build one at a leisurely pace for myself." And I built it in 7 days. It still turned out to be,
That's not unlike my Italeri Kugelwagen, which I think I've told this story before. I had that kit as a kid, and I built it in about an hour. And so a couple of years ago, I got a couple of them at the Avon show, and I thought, right, we're going to build. 30 years later, we're going to build another one, but we're going to take our time. Still took me an hour to build it. It was just brilliant kit, that. Right, Drew. Jim Aldergott wins tonight's comment of the show. He says,
"Get it built by Friday."
Genesis Tong, get it built by Friday. That's it, folks. We're gonna go away and build some models now. So,
Mark, just shrunk there. Now I want to look at my Tamiya 148 F-35B. Mark, it's stunning. It is an absolutely beautiful model. So I would highly recommend you do just that.
Yeah. On that note, I just want to say a big thank you to Drew for joining us tonight. Also, big thank you to Russ at Jadlam for his hospitality yesterday and for giving us the chance to put something on for the show, and to Mr. Farmer for the job in the fire escape trade, but also for the opportunity to build some models yesterday as well. So, especially considering everything I went through last year, these things really do feel like a bonus these days, Drew. And it was a beautiful drive across the Somerset levels yesterday.
It was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day all round. It really was. But it was good to see. It kind of infused me a little bit more, speaking to Pete and Andy and talking about actually going back to the Nationals this year, and Pete seemed quite keen for me to do so. So it was quite nice to have that kind of validation. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. We will be having the conversation about Telford and sorting out our travel plans. So we will.
I've got the time marked in my calendar for work to take the time off work. So as far as I'm concerned, we are
Thunderbirds are go.
We're restarting the clock.
Yeah, it's restarting the clock. There we go, folks. That's a nice shot of the Somerset levels yesterday at about 7:45 in the morning. Absolutely crackling with atmosphere, as the Somerset levels always are. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Right, thank you, Drew. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in tonight. Stay tuned because we will both be building our F-35s and cataloguing the builds online as we go. Be interesting to see the different approaches because I'm going to try and do a Spencer, and like I did yesterday, build as much as I can as sub-assemblies. But I get the feeling because so much of this model has to be painted in situ, I think that might kind of like fall apart a bit.
Jim,
anyway.
What music will we be playing on the drive to Telford? Well, because this is the first one, this will be the first Telford we've done together, John, since
2019.
Since lockdown, since we started this show.
Yeah.
Since we started this show. When we get closer, Jim, what we'll do is we'll get the playlist, and I'll build a playlist on Spotify.
Yeah.
And I'll publish a playlist on here one night, and people can go and have a look and see what we listen to, and just how much Yes, Queen, Boston, Rush, and Killing Joke and other stuff there is on it.
Absolutely, so, and Van Halen. Yeah, it's a cracking playlist, and
it gets us in the mood, doesn't it? So.
And also, I've got sneezing fits at the moment, but also, Drew, goodness me, we've just broached through 8:30 in the evening. It's dark outside here, properly dark outside. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. On that note, folks, a big thank you to everybody for watching. Like I say, thank you to Drew, thank you to Jadlam, thank you to Andy and the Hobby Company, thank you to you for all tuning in tonight. Keep them peeled because I'm going to try and do a pop-up live so that I can do some of the AK Real Marker work as well. And on the Facebook feed, we will be updating our various builds as the inevitable march to Telford increases. Begins, exactly. So
August.
On that note...
Traditionally, it begins in August.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as soon as the football season's back, that's it. It's kind of like the march to Telford begins. So anyway, everybody out there, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. So
take care all. See you later.